Pulp Crazy. Please subscribe, like, and comment if you're enjoying the videos. House of the Dragon Season 1, Episode 9 was another great episode. To me, this felt like a 70s spy thriller. You know, there was a lot of clandestine activity going on. Plots that were in the background came to the forefront. It was very fast-paced. I don't know about you guys, but that hour went by pretty fast. The bad news is there's only one episode left, but the good news is we have a Season 2 coming our way. And I read an interview with George R.R. Martin earlier in the week, and he seemed to indicate that this House of the Dragon series is going to need 4 seasons of 10 episodes each for it to be done right. Now, I'm going to take him at his word pretty much, because he wrote the source material after all, and he's very familiar with television production and breaking out a story for TV. And if that's the case, oh boy, do we got a pretty intense additional 3 seasons ahead of us. But as far as tonight's episode goes, I really liked it starting from the very beginning. I like how they kind of let Alicent off the hook a little bit, because it looks like it doesn't matter. No matter what happened when Viserys died, her small council was pretty much going to try to anoint Aegon as heir. And if you take a look at Viserys' small council, this should come as no surprise. The Lannisters, they're from the west of Westeros as well. They're north of Old Town, but west is still west. They're going to be loyal to the Hightowers. Not to mention Viserys and Rhaenyra earlier on in the season kind of threw cold water on her marrying a Lannister. So they're not going to do Rhaenyra or Daemon at this point any favors. No big surprise that the Lannisters chose to conspire against them in the background. Now, some people might be surprised that the Grand Maester wasn't neutral. The Order of the Maesters is actually located in Old Town. And Old Town is the seat of House Hightower. So they're not very neutral at all, at least in this respect during this era. They're going to back House Hightower. Also, it should be noted that the Order of the Seven has its roots in Old Town as well. So that's why you saw that religion take more of a presence once Otto came back and became Hand of the King. Before we go any further, let's all just give a tip of the cap to Old Lord Beesbury. He was loyal to his king until the very end. But unfortunately for him, for some reason in this series, Sir Criston Cole has a license to kill. I mean, what is up with this guy? First he beats Laenor's lover to death in front of everybody with no repercussions, and now he kills a member of the small council, and he faces no repercussions. Now I know the Queen's looking out for him, but this is very unusual behavior for a Kingsguard of this era anyway. I won't say any more because I don't want to spoil Game of Thrones for the 5 people who haven't watched it yet. But speaking of our resident secret agent, Criston Cole, I thought the scenes with him and Aemond, as well as Sir Eric and Sir Auric running around King's Landing, were a lot of fun. Not only that, but I love seeing the landscape of King's Landing, you know, seeing it from above. I'm not sure if that's CGI or an actual practical model, but it looked amazing. It was also cool seeing our 2 teams of investigators going through the streets looking for Prince Aegon. Again, HBO. You gotta reach out to the Fritz Leiber estate, get the rights to Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, and just start shooting. You already have everything you need. But I digress, leaving Nelwyn and going back to Westeros. Boy, is Prince Aegon a piece of shit. I wasn't expecting to see one of his bastards in the fight pit, but that was pretty sad. But it works for his character. He's the kind of person that's so pompous and full of himself. He was really eating up the applause and the praise when it was thrown at him, when probably 20 minutes earlier he was sulking and didn't even want anything to do with the crown. But it looks like all we needed was some words of encouragement from his mother, a Valyrian steel dagger, and probably the coolest Valyrian sword in the series, Blackfire, and he's raring to go. Who knows? He might just turn into a strong antagonist yet. He'd be wise to keep his sister and his wife, Helena, they're both the same person, close by, because her prophetic mutterings are probably going to come in handy. And I would think their mother, Alicent, would be aware of that by now. So it'll be interesting to see how the Hightower family tries to use her gift. Finally, the ending with Princess Rhaenys coming up through the floor on her dragon. I do not remember that in the original source material. I could be wrong, but I believe this was just added to the show. And while it was a cool scene, I really don't think it works from a continuity and logical standpoint. Talking in-universe now, not the real world. She has to know war is on the horizon, and if she would have just smoked that stage, it all could have been over. But she's a mother, and she recently lost 2 of her children, and I think she sympathized with Alicent a little bit there. We'll see if she comes to regret that in future installments of the series. After all, her granddaughters are betrothed to 2 of Rhaenyra's sons, who are also the girls' cousins and stepbrothers. So when they get married, they're going to be husband, wife, stepbrother, stepsister, and cousins. Oh, and they'll become sister-in-laws to each other as well in that scenario. If you went back to the year 2000 and told the 2000 version of yourself that in the year 2022 there's going to be this insanely popular fantasy series and intellectual property that millions upon millions of people around the world are going to be watching, not to mention reading the books, and that it prominently featured incest, would you believe yourself? Anyways, big fan of tonight's episode, even though it didn't have Daemon and Rhaenyra in it. But I think it looks like next week's episode is going to fix that and seems to be focusing on them. So I'll see you back here next week for the season finale. Pulp Crazy is located at pulpcrazy.com. I'm facebook.com/pulpcrazy. And I'm at pulpcrazy on Twitter and Instagram.